Okay, so I have been recording this because I've been posting them on YouTube for members who can't make it. So when in that announcement that I send out, there is a link, a YouTube link at the bottom, and you will find that there. I have a couple quick announcements for upcoming lectures. This Friday, the one coming up December 4th, Kathy Cripps is speaking on mushrooms in cold places. So she's speaking on mushrooms that she has found from the Rocky Mountain Arctic peaks up into the actual Arctic, North American Arctic, and or the North Arctic. Then next Wednesday, December 9th, we have a special one in the middle of the week. John Micheletti, he's doing a lecture on how to quit your life and devote your life. How to quit your job and devote your life to mushrooms. So that will be interesting to see what that is. And then finally, December 18th, which is like a couple Fridays out, James Cameron Mitchell. He is doing a talk on Resincolous ascomycetes. So ascos that specialize in eating resins of trees, I presume. All right, so we have all that. Do we have any other announcements from anyone that you want to get in?
Look,
yes.
Can you repeat the dates?
Yeah.
December 4th.
December 9th.
9.
And the 18th.
18th. All at 7 p.m.?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. We do all these in conjunction with New York, and I think one of them had actually bought the Boston Club is going to be involved too.
Oh,
so
nice.
we try to coordinate times with everyone. But if you guys do look at the email that I sent out for Taxonomy Tuesday down at the bottom, I have all those dates listed. Okay.
I didn't get it. Remember to add me, please.
Okay. So let's see. Tonight is like a show and tell, so we're going to show off our mushrooms by sharing our screens. Dorothy. Yeah, you're muted, Dorothy, if you're trying to say something. I don't know if Dorothy's talking to us or somebody else. Anyway, so we share our screens and offer either an ID or ask for an ID, and we'll try to help you figure it out. We do that by sharing your screen. There is 20 people here, so we'll get a queue going in the chat function at the bottom. Just start typing your names in if you have mushrooms that you want to show. Since there is a number of people here, I ask everyone just to share the time. Keep it to about 5 mushrooms or about 10 minutes, whichever comes first. All right. So if you have a bunch of mushrooms, just pick out your 5 best. And if we have time at the end, we'll come back around. I just want to make sure everyone gets a chance to go. And if somebody could volunteer to type the names of the mushrooms into the chat, that will help everyone be able to understand. So it looks like we have one person in the
Dorothy wants to be first, for sure.
No, I just wanted to say thank you, Luke, for sending out the information on elections.
Oh, yes,
for
you're
club
welcome.
members. So that's just what I wanted to say, but I was muted.
Oh, thanks, Dorothy. You're welcome. Okay, so it looks like Hervé is the first in line. So Hervé, would you like to take it away? And you are still muted, Hervé. Are you with us, Hervé?
Okay, yes. Can you see my screen here?
No, not yet.
We can see you, but we can't see anything mushroom-like.
Oh, I thought I did share screen.
There you go. You're getting somewhere now, Hervé.
Okay, so can you see the picture here?
Yes.
They're like white patches on the bark of red cedar.
Oh, we know what that is. That's Dendrophila Nervosa. Here, I'll type that in there.
Okay, next picture. So anybody, do you know what it is?
Yes, it's called Dendrophila Nervosa.
I wrote the name.
Let me write that down.
It's in the chat.
You know, I used to be confused by this because it makes the red cedar look like white cedar, which is relatively rare. In New Jersey, it has been over harvested. So sometime I didn't know if I had the red cedar with this fungus or if I had the white cedar. So what's the name again?
Dendrophila Nervosa. It is in the chat. So when you're done sharing your screen, you'll be able to see it spelled out in the chat.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, it's a crust fungi and that particular species only grows on that particular cedar.
Okay, next one.
Which is a juniper, by the way.
Juniper.
Which is a juniper, yes. Juniper is Virginia. So here, this is like on the bark of a dead red oak. So the normal color of the bark is green, okay, and then you have the patches of white.
Mm.
So I don't know if the fungus was present on the tree when it was standing, because it was a tree that fell probably relatively recently. It's unclear if the fungus appeared before or after.
Is that maybe Biscoganoxia?
No,
That's what I think.
no,
Yeah.
But it's hard to see the black dots.
Yeah, it looks like there might be some in there.
no, it doesn't look like that. There is a dendrotelis that grows on oak too. It looks like that.
On oak, not Candida, is it?
Dendrotelis on oak, but the photos are a little in an angle.
The screen is dark.
Well, to refresh the screen.
Loading. Loading.
Yeah, it seems like we have a slow connection tonight somewhere. I was thinking it didn't look like a Dendrophila though. Isn't the Dendrophila
Okay.
almost always like super smooth?
It looks like chalk. Oh, it could be this cognacia. You may be right.
Okay, now I have a better connection. Okay.
Because the Biscoganoxia does usually have that raised kind of like mounded look to it too.
Yeah, the size. Yep. You may be right. Yep.
Parasite on oak.
Okay, so next one.
I'll type the name in there in a second. I'll look up the spelling.
Spelling is, yeah. We'll have to look that up.
Okay, then let's see then. My third observation and the last observation. So there is some kind of fungus that peels off the bark, peels off the tree, you know, like paint, like old paint.
Mm.
it really looks like paint, but I know it cannot be paint because the fungus goes even between the layers of the bark.
Herb. It could be a crust fungus, but there are so many white ones that micro is necessary.
Let's see other pictures.
Yeah, I wouldn't know where to start with that without using a microscope either.
Right.
Mhm.
Plus the level of detail is not clear. It's too far still.
Okay.
You can't see details.
Do you know the kind of tree? Looks like it might be a poplar.
You think
I
so?
don't know. I don't know if that helps.
There are not many poplars. Oh, maybe.
It might not be a poplar. I don't know. It just looks a little like it, but maybe not. The bark.
Yes.
Yeah, that's Marisol just put in probably what the closest we'll get to that is Basidium mycota.
Okay, this is my last picture, my last observation.
All right. Are you done, Hervé?
Yes, I'm done. Thank
Okay.
you.
Can you hit the stop sharing?
Okay. Stop share.
There we go. All right. Well, thanks for sharing. You'll
Okay,
find
welcome.
the names were typed into the chat function for everything.
Okay.
we had there.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, just a reminder to everyone, if you have stuff to share, type your name into the chat so I get you in the queue. Right now I have Marisol, then John and Nina, Dorothy, Dave, and myself. I have all those pictures on my computer, so I'm going to share my screen. And we'll start with Marisol as soon as I can. Okay, ready to go, Marisol? Oh, look, there's all the names there if you guys want to get a preview.
Okay, I wrote down the name.
Hurry up, screenshot.
Screenshot.
Okay. I must stop sharing for 1 second, Marisol, because I want to check something. I'll be make sure. Okay. Okay. Here's your first one, Marisol.
Okay. Okay, this is a crust. I found it in the Pine Barrens a few days ago on pine, rotten pine. On the picture, there are other two species there, a polypod and another crust above it. Can you zoom it a little bit? My photos are, it's not that great. My photo's a little dark, but it's like glassy aspect and waxy too. You touch it and it feels like almost like rubber. And the margin is gorgeous. It's like waxy tips. And it has that consistency. There is another, this is called Flaviopsis gigantea, because one of the characters, which I didn't do yet, is huge. I don't remember the name. And there is another one that grows on deciduous wood, and it's also Flaviopsis I don't remember the species name, but one happens on conifers and one happens on deciduous wood, and they are very close microscopically. Can you show the other photos, please? Perdón. There was another, oh, there were many little fruiting bodies starting to grow. It wasn't too big, but it can grow to big size. That's good. The projections that you can see on the photo, we call them teeth. I'm good.
What's the gigantea mean? Is it something to do with the microscopy?
See, one of the features is huge.
Hmm.
I can't remember the name.
Is the little brown thing part of it?
No, there is another crust.
It's got spikes on it.
And a polypore. Yep.
So the spiky brown thing is something different?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's another crust. It was just starting to grow.
Aracel,
Yes.
is it gelatinous? How does it feel when you touch it?
When you touch it, it feels like waxy.
Waxy. Okay.
The brown spot there, could it be of the same species but at a different stage?
No, it's not the same. It was something like close to Rhabdomyces copelandi, but I just didn't pay attention to it. It was super tiny, and I wanted to focus on the Flaviopsis.
And you say it's very large. So, for instance, how large is the orange spot there?
Oh, the orange is like half inch. No, when it grows, this is a very young specimen. I said is that it can grow to a big size. This is very young. Maybe 2.5 to 3 inches.
All right. We'll go on to the next one.
I found this in the same place. It's my first time. I found other Xerophalinas on wood. The wood here is just for the photo, but they were growing on the ground. And it's called the litter lover, something like that. And it looked familiar to me as Xeromphalina, but I didn't know the name. iNaturalist came with the species name as Cauticinalis. I read that name before in the books, but I never saw it. It's kind of small, and there was a little troop of them, and the stem was a little velvety. Perhaps it's like 3/4 of an inch, the cap. Few of them growing on the conifer debris right there on that spot.
All right, cool.
attached to the cones at all?
What?
Are they attached to the cones?
No, the cone was right there. I put them
Yeah, I
on the
just
wood
wondered.
so we can see them. But no, they were on the ground. There is one behind it on the top. You can see it, and some are in the front on the ground. That's how they
Yeah.
were.
Oh, they were, so there's some probably buried woody stuff,
They said the conifer debris. is
debris,
what it
yeah.
says.
So these are not striate, which makes them different than Campanella and
Mhm.
or Kaufmanii.
Or Kaufmanii grows on deciduous wood and
Yeah.
Campanella on conifer wood, but these ones were on the ground.
Yeah, but they're not striate either, so that makes them kind of different as well.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah,
got it.
there's no striations on the cap. I don't see any veins connecting the gills either. Usually on these little Xerophalinas, you'll see some of that. Well, that's kind of interesting. I don't think I've ever seen this. Oh, there might be a little bit. There might be a little bit of connecting. Nice photo. That's a good photo there.
Good.
Cool. Any other questions on this one? Let's scroll back up here so you can see the name again.
Oh, they put the name backwards.
Xerophili. Oh, yeah.
That's weird. I don't do that. That's weird.
You have to go into your settings and change that.
Oh, geez. Yeah. I don't do that. It was weird. Okay.
Okay, next one, Mycena epitegeria.
Okay, same place. I went to, there is a road called Zooey Place with Route 70. It's in the Pine Barrens. And I found two by accident. I just didn't even know. I always heard the name Mycena epiterygia, but I heard before that there were 2 or 3 kinds. So I found 2. One was on the ground and one was on wood. This one was on wood. It was only one. And on the ground, there were like 3 or 4. And then I took both home and I did the micro on both, and the spores were different. And then I went to read, and I found out that the one that grows on the conifer is called lignicola. You know that lignicola means something related to the wood. And then the other one is Epiterygia variety Epiterygia, the one that grows on the ground. And I also noticed that the one on the pine was a little more yellow on the gills. The one on the ground had white gills, paler gills. So that was a cool find. And they're kind of mucousy. You touch them and they are sticky.
The one that grows on the ground, what was the variety called?
Epiterygia variety Epiterygia.
Oh, okay.
Same. And
Yep.
this one is variety lignicola.
Yeah, that's interesting because I've been down to the Pine Barrens a couple times recently, and I keep finding these, but yeah, there's like some variation in them.
I just by accident noticed the color of the gills, and then the spores were different in both. I have a photo, yeah. Even the size is different.
They smell too. They have a very chemical smell.
I don't remember smelling
I don't
them.
know how you didn't remember them. It's very strong smelling.
Goodness, yeah.
Next time, smell.
Yeah. I found it again and I didn't smell them. Oh my gosh. Next time.
Yep.
Yeah. I think there is another photo or only those 2.
Nope, just those 3 photographs altogether.
Okay, one. Oh, yeah. We're good. That's the cap. Yeah.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Any more questions on this one? All right.
Look, wait, don't go too fast. If you go on what I wrote about it, on my, yeah, can you hit the observation so we see the other one to compare?
Mhm.
So this one was the one growing on the ground. You can see the difference in the color of the cap, and the gills are lighter too. And can you show the spores, please? See the difference? They're less fat.
Yeah. Okay.
And I measured them. They have different sizes, and the shape is different too.
This one is an epipterygia?
Yeah, on the ground.
Oh. Is it also the stalk really like coated with
Yeah,
gluten?
sticky. Yeah. Yep. But it was growing on the ground in that moss where I took the photo.
Right.
But in the pine barrens, on the oaks and pines too.
So this one is the variety epipterygia, right?
Supposedly.
Yeah. Interesting.
All right.
Maricel, where are you picking up those common names?
I didn't. Something is wrong because I never do that. I always go by the scientific name. Something
No,
is.
but where did you find the common name? On iNaturalist?
Oh, it gives it to you. Yeah.
Yeah, iNaturalist is the one who's putting those common names in there.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Because you can even go for the common names and then the scientific name goes in parentheses. I go for the scientific name and whatever they say, I don't even pay attention. But I don't know, something came different today. Okay. Okay, so I found this, they call them, I read this before in a book, they call them black oysterets. And they're so beautiful. The cap is very hirsute and stiff with white hairs. You can make it bigger so we can see the detail. You see how hirsute and like tough it is. And the gills have white edges. I never really noticed that before because I have found them before. Look at how beautiful they are. And I found troops of them on top of the wood. They were not hiding like other resupinatus that you find under the bark. This one, and it was big, many big fruiting valleys. Can you show, is there another photo? Yeah, there were troops of them. And I think that when they are younger, they look like a petal. And when they get older, they become a little curvy, like wavy. And the petal shape disappears. So I took 2 specimens, one that look like this, maybe very mature, and one that looks younger. And the spores were less in this one that seems older and more mature. And the spores in the newer kind were there were more spores on the new specimens than in the old one that I'm showing it to you. But the shape was like the same. And I wonder if because it was very old, it wasn't producing too many spores. I don't really know that.
Were the measurements, are those centimeters?
Yeah. Do I have a link to see the other species that I'm talking about when it's younger? No, I didn't do it. It's okay.
All right, cool. Questions on that one? All right. Here you go, your last one.
Mm-hmm. All right. In the same place, and there was an oak, a very old oak, and it was hollow inside, and there was a crack. So I opened it. I found million things on it, and I opened it, and this mushroom was growing inside there, so it never made it outside. It has a little striations, some striations on the cap, and it has remnants of a partial veil on the edge. Can you show the other photo so we can see that? Yeah, right there. And if you look up close on that, it's like white fibers. It's so beautiful. You can see how rotten the wood is, almost like dust. But it still had an outside cover because oaks are hard. And yeah, I did the spores. I work on the spores. The base has this white mycelium, and the spores are brown in water with some contents, and it has cheilocystidia. And on the cheilocystidia, there was some matter attached to the tips. You see those hemispheres? Look, can you point? That was so weird. Yeah.
That's not air.
I don't know, but I don't know. I noticed that. No, air is on the top. They keep going up.
Yeah, I see the air bubble there.
See the air? Yeah, that's the air.
It's an air bubble.
Yeah, no touching the cheilocystidia. It could be, I don't know. It could be. I'll pay more attention next time. All right, I'm good.
Cool, nice microscopy. Okay, thanks, Marisol.
Thank you.
So next we go to John and Nina. John and Nina? Are you guys there?
Yeah, he just has to unmute it. Okay, yeah, they're here. Okay. All right. I picked this. We went to Franklin Park and we walked along the railroad track, and in the pine stuff, the debris, I picked this up and threw it in my basket. And then I got home and I looked at it, and it had these teethy things. And when I did the microscope, I found that it was it had hyaline spores, and it's white spored, and they're about round, and they had little prickly things on them, and those little, little things on them, and they were about 4. They were small, fairly small spores. So I looked and I figured it had to be a phalodon because it's not because of the white spores. And so you can see, it's hard to see, but one of those things that looks like a pine needle things is actually attached to the mushroom, and it's part of the mushroom. See the one right kind of on the right hand side, I think.
At about 3 o'clock.
Yes.
Yeah, that looks like the stem to me.
Yes.
Right,
Yes.
And it's a good example of the indeterminate growth, the way it looks like the pine needles are growing through the mushroom, but it's the other way around. The mushroom grows around the pine needles. I would agree with your identification as much as I can see of it.
Yeah, I said it was a Melaleucas.
Yeah,
And now this one, 2 years ago, we were walking in the Pine Barrens along the railroad track also, and somebody else, Doug's son, picked this one up and tried to figure out what the heck it was, white spore, the same sort of thing. What the heck is this thing? And they never did get a name to it. But then when I identified this one, I said, ha ha, and went back to the picture from 2018, and sure enough, there it is. So I think this is the same thing.
Yeah, it could be. Maybe it's just a little younger.
Yeah.
But the stem looks right to me.
Okay.
Yeah, one of the neat things about this is this one was picked, the first one that Nina picked it last Friday, I guess it was less than 100 yards as the crow flies down the tracks from the one we found before. And it was virtually the same weekend.
Yeah.
Nina,
Yeah.
does it have like a cap?
The first one, the one I got the other day, didn't, but this one did.
Oh,
Sort of like a little top. Yeah.
how big it is?
Very, very small.
Mm.
Yeah, at first I thought it was like somebody's gum or somebody or some bird mess or something, and I had just thrown it in a basket. So.
The
Nice.
size often is determined a lot by the weather. When I've seen them until this year, maybe I've seen them at about cap biggest an inch across.
Right.
The
Yeah.
whole thing an inch high, but this year I saw a couple a little bit bigger. So it depends on the weather, how much moisture they get at the right time and temperature.
So the habitat is the needle, the
Yeah.
needles?
Pine needles.
Pine needles, all right.
Yeah.
Nice, I love it.
Well, it's probably mycorrhizal because I think all phelodons and hypnellums and that sort of thing is mycorrhizal,
Okay.
probably.
Yeah, it is a bit too small to die with, so I didn't send it to you.
Yeah, right, yeah. It's too tedious to collect enough to do anything with, so I couldn't really tell you.
Okay, next.
All right.
Is it Melaleucus? I got it.
Yeah, I sent you the name so you could do it.
Oh, yeah, I remember. Thank you very much.
So you could learn how to spell it before you got to it. Because I couldn't pronounce these stupid things. Okay.
Sorry, looks like I accidentally closed the window. Okay, then you had these guys.
Yeah, Agathustus. This is Agathus. Hygrophorus agathus.
Is that the right name or Agastomus?
No, it's a gothmos.
Agathmos.
It-
M-U.
It's missing something there.
I spelled it wrong?
I think so.
Oh, shoot.
A gothmos.
Okay,
thought
I
was
spelled
a
it wrong.
gothmos.
It's got an M in it. Okay. There, I sent it to you and I spelled it wrong.
I think it's Agathmos.
Yep.
M-U-S, yeah. Okay, this one smells very strongly of black cherry or dark, like bitter cherry or almondy smell. It's got a real strong smell. And you pick it, and then you bring it home, and then suddenly you're sitting there and you smell something. You say, huh, I smell something, and you go sniffing in your basket, and you pull this thing up, and that was along the railroad tracks. Okay.
I have a
Same one.
I have a question about hygrophorus because I have the hardest time pinpointing them. Is there like can anybody explain to us? Like hygroscopy, I can usually tell. It's pretty easy to tell because they're kind of small and waxy and often colored. But these things, there's like nothing that really like sticks out to me that says hygrophorus.
Oh, well, a lot of times the gills are like real pure white, and this one is really, really white, and they're slightly decurrent.
Right.
Were they sticky?
A lot of
Sort of soapy feeling.
Okay.
A lot of fall hygrophorus are also quite mucilaginous. But again, waxy, thick gills, and decurrent.
Okay.
Yeah, hygrophorus tends to be a little more robust and more substantial flesh than hygroscybe.
Yeah.
Right.
Hygroscopy. Hygroscopy is more like they break apart more easily.
Okay. Thank you.
Next. Okay, this is another one. Now, we were walking along the railroad tracks, and all I saw was these little white stumps. And I said, what the heck is that white stump? And like hundreds of them. And then I poked around until finally I found one, but it was so sticky, I couldn't even pick them up. The top was sticky, gooey, and the stem was gooey, and the stem was pretty high. And so the closest I could get was to Hygrophorus eburnus.
Was that growing in moss?
Yes.
Is that why the stem's so long?
Yes. It was growing in a very wet area on the side of the railroad tracks.
Cool. All right.
And then this one is a Tricholoma orientaceum.
Orientiacum.
Orientaceum. Good.
Aurantiacum, there is a mistake there, yeah?
Did I spell that wrong?
T-I. T-I-A. Oh, you're missing an I think.
Oh, okay.
T-I-A-cium.
The I is misplaced. It
It's
should
in the wrong
be
place.
before the A instead of before the U.
Oh,
UTI.
sorry, I'm not much of a one for spelling them.
All right. That's all right. It's close enough. We can figure it out.
Okay. So that's a tricholoma you might see. We collected that in Franklin Parker too.
On the ground?
Yeah.
Nice.
Tricholoma live on the ground.
Mhm.
That was over near the Savoy place there.
Oh. Mhm.
I like how in this picture how you can see and hear how notched these gills are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that always helps me identify tricholomas. The way the gills have this right in there, that notching. All right, and then you have.
It's another tricholoma. This is a Tricholoma pessondatum. This is one we find a lot all over, and you find these brown things, and according to the Bassett's, every time you go and you keep them going and say, oh, it's a pessondatum. Oh, that one's a pessondatum. They're all not pessondatum, but they all seem to end up that way.
That's the one we find always in a speedwell along the road?
Yeah.
Tons of them.
Yeah. Always kicking them over.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think that's it.
Thank you, nice.
All right, great. Anybody have any questions for Nina?
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thanks, guys. Okay, looks like Dorothy's next. Oops. Unfortunately, I keep closing my email, so give me 1 second.
You better drop someone.
Yeah, we don't spell.
You have to check.
Okay, does it matter which email, Dorothy? This is the one you sent me first.
Oh,
Are
but
they this?
that has a bird in it. I didn't want the bird.
Oh, I thought the bird was cool, but okay. I thought it was a bonus.
Okay, well, with a lot of wind over the last few weeks, a lot of little twigs coming down. And I'm not sure what this one is, but if you see the next picture,
Know it. I know it.
is it a Laura discus?
No. It's Michenera artocreas, and you got both stages together. The
Yeah,
one
this is the-
asexual is on the top and the cross is underneath. That's so cool.
A smooth crust, and then these little
Yes.
cups. And then
Michenera, I'm writing it. Michenera artocreas.
after it rains, this brown part looks much darker. It's kind of fuzzy on the outside of these little cups, but I was glad to find this piece because it was connected to this very resupinate. There's no pores or anything. So I wasn't sure what it was. So let me go to the, can I go to the chat
Yeah,
to
you
write
can.
this down? Oh, Missionaria. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
So how would you describe this stuff? Is
That's the asexual stage.
The asexual stage?
Yes. It's called Lycostroma subgiganteum, but not anymore. That was the old name. Lycostroma subgiganteum.
That's what we have.
I knew someone knew it, but it's all over the branches, and I would say there happen to be mostly maple.
Change its name.
Is there any host, or is it just everywhere? Anybody know?
They like to grow on maples. Yeah. In
Okay.
swampy areas.
That's what this is then.
Mm-hmm. Yup.
Thank you. All right, the next pictures are,
If you do micro of the asexual stage,
no.
the spores are gigantic.
Okay, I just decided I would, since a lot of twigs are down everywhere with this rain and storm and wind, I want to just point out some common lichens that are on branches. And you can see the two different species here, one with the yellow-green. And when you use the keys, you have to go to yellow for this one. This is the very common green shield lichen, Flaviopsis caparata. But if you look at the lobes of this particular lichen, and remember lichens are fungi, you'll see all over the margin little black hairs called cilia, all right? And both of these lichens have little vegetative bodies on the, here you see here, and the other one, which is a Parmotrema hypotropum. This is the most common lichen, most common Parmotrema in North Jersey. But if you head to South Jersey and the Carolinas, there are 20 or more species of this genus. And on the edges of the lobes are, if you, not that this is a good picture, but if you could zoom in, I think Luke has to do that. You see this material here on the margins. Those are little tiny, they look powdery or crystal, like little crystals. And that is the vegetative propagule for lichens called Soridia. And here it's just on the surface of the thallus. Okay, I just threw in some lichens because there's not too many mushrooms this time of the year, at least if you don't live in the Pine Barrens, that you might want to take a look at some lichens. All right, this was out in front of my doctor's office a few weeks ago on the mulch. And so this is very common bird's nest fungus. We've seen it before. Cyathus striatus that you can see on the next picture. that there are these striations on the inside of these little cups. And down at the bottom, the little black peridioles. Sometimes the bird's nest fungus, which are quite tiny, growing on wood chips and mulch, are often called splash cups, because when a raindrop lands inside the cup, then it splashes out these little peridioles, and they're attached to a little cord called
Funicula.
a funicula, yeah, a funicular cord, and that kind of wraps around maybe some grass or something like that. So the next picture shows a side view of this particular species, which is, you can see here maybe, is just kind of this fuzzy brown material. And that's it for me. Not
All
much,
right.
not much to find when you're busy cooking for Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Thank you, Dorothy. Okay. I'm going to stop sharing for 1 second because I want to look at the chat. Actually, I want to write a note. Okay, I got what I needed.
Missionera?
Yes, that's what I wanted to write down. All right. And then did anybody else put anything in here for, okay, so it looks like it's just Dave and myself. Is there anybody else that wants to share tonight? Dave sent me a pretty good sized list. If nobody else is volunteering.
Yep, cut it short if you need to, Luke. Move on to your stuff.
It doesn't look like I need to because nobody else is.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
If we have extra space at the end, I can show more.
Okay.
Luke, I wanted to just warn people that they're having deer hunting. So if you plan to go out on next week, I think they're doing deer hunting next week in the Pine Barrens. So I wouldn't confine your visits to weekend to Sundays, or watch out.
Sundays?
Deer hunting.
No. What, any day?
Next week. Yeah, I think it's all week. Yeah.
Oh, okay, thank you. Or wear an orange vest.
No, it's 6-day firearm. Don't go in the woods if you don't have to.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Liz knows.
Oh, okay, please. Thank you.
Okay, so it looks like Sue's the only other person that spoke up. So it's Dave, me, and Sue that have stuff left.
Just want to mention that social media.
I'm getting to you, Dave. Oops. Is this one of yours, Dave?
I believe so. Yeah, I found
Yeah.
a few of these.
I must have hit one of the links.
Yeah, hit one of the links. I'm not sure I had this one first, but it's pretty common. It's the Audubon calls this false chanterelle. Some books say it's toxic, and some books say it isn't. It's probably been confused with jack-o'-lantern in the past. White spores. And the coolest thing about it are the gills. If you can zoom in, you'll see the gills really do look like looks like a chanterelle hymeneum, right? The gills are these thick, multiply forked gills. But one thing that's definitely different from Cantharellus is you can peel away the layer of hymeneum from Hygrophilopsis, and for Cantharellus, the hymeneum is just, it's the same context as the rest of the cap. It's just like molded into pseudo gills, or in some of the species of Cantharellus, it looks like really like gills. But anyway, this is, I find it usually in the fall. I find it starting in September usually. And then in the fall, it's mostly under pine. Everything's under pine now. Almost everything, even most of the saprobes.
Is it Aurantiacum?
Aurantiaca, I think is.
Tiaca. Okay.
It used to be Aurantiacum. I don't know. Now it's Aurantiaca.
Yeah.
I don't understand these rules of Latin.
Feminine
I
and
can't tell
masculine.
the girls from the boys, when it's looking at these mushrooms. Yes.
Aurantiaca will be a girl.
Oh, look, yeah. Well, that's what I'm talking about.
A is feminine.
Yeah, but I don't know why. But anyway, what do we have first here? Oh, this is pretty cool. Yeah, now these were growing on pine cones, but these pine cones were buried, so these appeared to be terrestrial, but they're growing on buried cones of Scots pine. This is like a tooth mushroom. So it's got the hymenium is these little spines. I think I've got a couple other pictures where this one was not on any kind of zoom setting. So some of the other pictures you can see the spines really well.
Auriscarpium.
Can you zoom in on that so I can get a photo shot
Yeah.
of that one that was closed?
Well, there's better pictures of the hymenium.
No, I like this.
Well, there's a better picture than that where you can see the spines much better. This picture was just on regular setting because I just wanted to capture the group.
Very hard to photograph.
Well, yeah, they are, but I've got some pretty good photographs here of the subsequent ones. That's another one. This one's just to show the size. Okay, so there's the top of one of the caps, and the photograph after that, I think, is a pretty good shot of the hymenium.
Oh,
Yeah, so this one, if you zoom this one, that's a little bit better than the last one. I think one or two of the other pictures are even better. That's not bad though. Near the stipe, you can see the spines really well, and you can see
I find this all the time up here where I am.
oh, see, I've never found it ever. That's so exciting to me to see.
I want to find it so bad.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah, it's funny you don't get them in the
Mistaking it when you
pine
see it.
barrens. I guess this
Yeah,
is the one
never.
fine. Yeah, this one came out really pretty good. If you zoom this one,
I love the
see the
hairy.
hairs on the stalk.
Yes.
And,
Oh,
yeah, the
gorgeous.
spine, the hairs on the cap.
Yeah, that's really nice.
Yeah, sometimes you just get lucky and you've got the right ambient light conditions in the camera. You just get lucky because I don't fool around with a lot of f-stops or any of that stuff. I just take a whole lot of pictures, sort through them, pick out what looks good.
Dave, did you find it by accident or you went on purpose to like?
I have found this species in the same general location before,
Oh. Okay.
but I was not in this exact same spot and not on a lawn. These were sticking up out of the grass because they were growing from berry cones. When I found it in the past, they were always like right on a cone that was more or less lying on the surface. Even the one that's on the cone was
What kind of cone? What kind of cone?
Scots pine.
Scots pine. Okay.
And it has to be an old cone, not a recent one.
I don't know.
Oh,
I don't really know.
necessarily.
I found it in the past on cones just lying on the ground, but probably the cone has to be,
No, in the
down
books,
for a while.
in the book, it said has to be at least from last year, no recent.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really look that up. But yeah, that was pretty cool. When I saw them, I sort of knew what they were because I've seen them before, even though they were sticking out of the ground, which was kind of unusual. Yeah. And that's one that I found. I found that at a nymph or a Namaphore, and Walt Sturgeon told me he had never found it. So I really felt like I found something special. Oh, now here's a really cool thing. This is one of the two species of blue cups in Esco, but this is the less common one. The smaller cup with the bigger spores. And I got a pretty good shot there in pretty much in sunlight. A lot of times I don't like to take pictures in direct sunlight, but at this time of the year, when things tend to be kind of dark, actually the direct sunlight kind of works. But
What
if you-
wood?
Probably oak. It was pretty well decayed. It might have been tulip poplar. But the key ingredient to identifying these is the micro, measuring the spores. Because the other one, Chiro's, the one that ends in SCENS.
Aeruginosense. Ugh.
Yeah, that one. Well, I get them mixed up actually. There was not a bad shot though of the some of the paraphyses, and anyway, yeah, you can see the paraphyses pretty well here. They're kind of tangled and thin, and I guess you might call them filiform or maybe thinly cylindrical. I don't know, but they kind of bend. And but this micro though is the result of just chopping one of these little guys up. So I didn't do anything careful or special. But I did get a little bit of a spore drop. And then I got a pretty good view of the spores. And these spores, now this is at 400 power. So when I measure them on the using the scale here, I have to add. So if I count each gradation, the smaller gradations, so this is in between these big gradations, is actually it's actually only 5, but you have to multiply by like 2.5. So so I make this conversion factor and see this big spore right here in the upper middle. That one's probably close to 15 microns long and probably about 2.5 microns wide. So that pretty much nails, the bigger spores nail the species. So it's not the other more common cup. And I do mix up the two names all the time because they're so similar. But it was a pretty nice find because I had not identified ever before this less common of the two blue cups. And that's.
I have a quick question,
Sure.
Dave.
Mm-hmm.
The stalk on those, is it more central or eccentric?
Yeah, well, it was hard to tell. They were so small that you couldn't really see much of a stalk, but they appeared to be centrally attached to something. As you can see by they're pretty symmetric. The cups are pretty symmetric. They're
Right.
not. Yeah. So
There was something that Corp said once, the mycologist,
Yep.
and he said that the common species has the more eccentric stalk.
Yes. That's right. Mm-hmm. That's what I found. And you can see here. You can see sort of just by the way they're shaped. You can see that they're probably attached to something right around the middle of the fruit body.
Right.
Yeah. So that's another piece of information to support this lesser common of the two species. But it's really the spore size that you have to look at. That's the one. That's the thing that nails it. The other species has spores that top out at, like, according to some sources, 8 microns, according to other sources, 10 microns. And the spores here that I got, not only from the spore drop, but also I found spores here and there from the stuff that I chopped up. The smallest spores I can find were a little bigger than 9 microns. So that pretty much nails the idea, I think. But yeah, these were really nice looking. It was a cool thing to find.
Dorothy, were you
names.
referring to Dick Korf from Cornell? My
Yes.
colleagues that used to study the discomycetes or ascomycetes? Okay.
Yep.
Dave,
Yeah.
one is the one that is showing is aeruginosa and the other one is aeruginascens.
Yeah. The other one is the one that ends
Yeah.
in the SCENS, right?
I wrote it on the chat.
Yeah.
Aeruginescence.
Yes. Aeruginascens.
Oh, here you go, Dorothy. A lichen.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah, it's one of these that's really hard to identify to species. But Jason Hollinger sent 2 possibilities for the species. This is on moss near pine trees. I think probably Scots pine. Once upon a time, I identified these trees as Virginia pine, but I think they're Scots pine. Yeah, I think if you do a
It
close-up,
doesn't matter
actually.
what pine, they're not specific.
Yeah, I didn't think so, really. It's sort of not really worth elaborating on the tree species there. Yeah, but I think,
The red tips on them.
yeah.
This
So
is
that-
one of the species of reindeer lichen, but not the Rangiferina.
uh-huh.
You have to look at the tips.
Yeah,
It's
you
the
probably have
color
to
of
use
the red
you probably have to
brown.
use chemicals and do a little micro with the dissecting scope probably to get a little more detail. I just snapped a few pictures when I was there. I didn't take anything home. So I just thought it looked pretty cool,
Yeah.
so. Okay, what do we have next?
So here's the names that they were putting on them.
Yeah, that's the two names that Jason Hollinger is very, very good with lichens, and he's very much willing to share
Where
his
is he
knowledge.
from? Do you know?
Where's Jason from? Do you know, Karen? He might be from out west someplace. He's one of the owners of Mushroom Observer. He and Nathan Wilson run the site.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Tricholoma portentosum is been regarded for a long, long time as really, really good edible species until people in Europe started dying from tricholomas, and now there's been all these studies, and some scientists say they've isolated a toxin in portentosum, but I mean, I still eat them. I just don't, I tried to eat, I tried to not overindulge, and I make sure they're really well cooked. But this is a guy who's in our club, has a small piece of property. Maybe it's I think he owns over 10 acres, but there's this 5-acre plot that's these 2 or 3 needle pines. And I think it's actually a mix of different species of pines. And he gets these every year. Some years he goes out and picks 5 gallons in a day. So I went last Saturday, I met him at his place, and I picked some of these Tricholoma portentosum. They are very tasty.
Dave,
Yeah.
I have a question. You
Mhm.
said that you eat them very well cooked. So at the end, what do you get? Like a soft thing or still
No,
firm?
they actually firm up when you cook them. These were
okay.
these were kind of had a lot of moisture in them, and the moisture cooked out, and then they firmed up a little bit.
Okay.
And they have a very nice texture, actually. I fried them. I fried them for a long time, like a half an hour with onions and salt and pepper, and that's all I did. Maybe a little wine to deglaze. They were really good, though. I had them with some steak. So those are nice big ones, and they're hard to see. Actually, they're underneath the pine litter and the leaf litter. You have to kick stuff around. The guy who owns the property, he takes out a walking stick and pushes stuff around.
The type are beautiful.
Yeah, they're really nice. And sometimes they have you can see a tiny bit of yellow on the gills. Sometimes there's a little bit more of a yellow flush on the gills of this species. Susan, do you find these in the Adirondacks?
I have never been really good at identifying tricholomas, and I have so many different kinds up here. I would be very hesitant to identify it. I do remember, though, that Ursula Pohl used to eat these like crazy, and she'd always collect them in the late fall down in New Jersey. So that makes
one thing about the great tricholoma is a fair number of them are bitter. So you can eliminate some possibilities on taste. But there's also these ones they call Terrium, which I showed last time we were together.
Yeah,
here.
I just find them too confusing and too close and not worth it for me to eat.
Okay.
Not worth it.
What do we have next here? I forget what I sent in. So I get to be surprised. Oh, another hike. Oh, that's the one we just saw. Yeah, you can just move past that. Yeah, so what's next? Oh, I thought Virginia might be here. I found another slime mold. So this one is little yellow balls on tiny stalks. So I don't know what these things are. But I took a few pictures, and I thought if she was here, she would probably.
Oh, wow.
It's a tricky, it's tricky alias of some kind, but right offhand, without looking at the spores and the capillicium, it's hard to say.
Oh, okay.
Could be,
I think I have some micro here. Oh, is that Virginia? Oh,
I
I'm
see
sorry,
the one
Virginia,
from-
you are here.
The
Oh,
one
good.
from the side, it's Hemitrichia clavata, maybe.
Yeah,
How do you? Oh, that start with B.
I call it the yellow cotton candy.
Yeah.
Is hemi with a Y or an I?
I, with an I.
Okay, hemitrichia. Okay.
Clavata, maybe. It's
Clavata.
CLA.
Yeah, I'll figure the spelling out later as long as I have an idea. But there, I did get a little micro.
Uh-huh.
So I have this is only at 100 magnification. There's another picture of one of these strands at 400 magnification, and it looks kind of like a rope. It's like it's braided.
Right.
Yep.
Like a twisted rope.
Yeah, like a twisted rope. The next picture I think shows that. Yeah, there we go. If you zoom on that, you can see a little better. It's
Yeah,
like a
looks like,
like a
right.
looks
Looks
like a
like a
cable or
rope.
something, like a rope. Yeah, so, and I think I got the spores too, but it seems to me like the spores of these guys, a lot of them are not a whole lot different. They're just round. Oh, round. Oh, but that's right. They were spiny. They had thin spines on them. The
Yeah,
spores did.
finely
You can't see it in the picture, but
No,
on my
no.
better microscope, from which I don't get good pictures because it's binocular, you could distinctly see the thin spines,
Right.
maybe topping out, somewhat under a half micron or maybe around a half micron.
Mhm.
But there were these really thin spines on these spores. So
I have a
guess the size
I have a question. Maybe Virginia knows or somebody else. What is this structure? The twisted rope thing. What is that?
It's
Tangled hypha.
capillicium. And
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that? There's
all
two.
mycelium have them. It doesn't attach to the spores. Sometimes it attaches to the peridium, which is the outside skin.
Yeah, it helps disperse the spores.
Spores, right.
Oh.
So when the peridium opens up, sometimes because of moisture conditions, it just expands like cotton candy does. It helps disperse the spores out into the air.
Okay.
Oh,
So this strand here is, sorry. When you look at this one here, all these little hairs, is that hair magnified?
Well, yeah, that's the part. Yes.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Oh, cool.
And because you see
Virginia?
it, the outer covering is gone.
Yes.
It's opened up.
Oh.
The peridium is like normally would cover it as it's forming, has opened up so that
Oh.
it can expand.
Oh.
Virginia?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be considered a structure just to give body to the oh gosh, what's the
I
name?
guess, but also to help it disperse the spores when
But
it
how do
expands.
they help to disperse? I don't see the connection.
I'm sorry.
Creates little spaces.
They,
That's what I was thinking. Maybe to create some like
Yeah.
airspace in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
create little spaces.
Mhm.
and they can kind of move around with air currents to release the
Mhm.
spores.
Oh, that makes sense. I got it. Yes.
Mhm.
All right. That's a cool one.
Well, thanks everybody on that. That was interesting for me because I didn't know what it was. I knew it was some sort of slime mold. Oh, this is a pretty cool thing. Now, you've all seen chaga, I'm sure, although it's more common here in Pennsylvania at higher elevation than it would be in New Jersey, I imagine. But you can see on the one picture here how high up in the tree this is. There's my wife Karen standing on the ground, and this is on the Falls Trail at Ricketts Glen, a very highly traveled hiking trail, and that's up there on the high up on this live yellow birch tree. And the thing that's really interesting here is I will get to monitor this. Nobody's going to pick this one. It's up too high. So I will get to see from season to season what this looks like and how the tree is doing. And I think that will be an interesting observation that's ongoing, because it's definitely a chaga. I got lucky here with the picture. I guess the sunlight was just right, because I had to zoom in from down below. But it's got a little bit of detail. It's not great detail, but you can see it's a chaga for sure.
Dave,
Yes.
do you know, I read that in the books, that only when the tree falls down, then the fruiting body matures.
Yeah, this is like the tree reacting to being infected by the fungus. It's like antibodies or something. The tree is, and this is actually made mostly out of wood, I think, these chaga bodies. And then eventually the fungus, I think it's a sclerotium actually, the chaga thing. And then eventually the fungus produces a fruit body from this sclerotium that grows under the bark of the tree, and hardly anybody ever sees the fruit body.
I've seen the pores. I have.
You've seen them. All right.
Yeah, and I actually have a kind of a poor picture, but I could actually put that up next week if you wanted, if we do this.
Oh, that would be cool to see.
I have a tree behind me that it was alive when I moved here 11 years ago, and then it sort of died, and the thing was still there at about 6 inches. And finally, I took this part, the chaga part, off, and the bark below it was peeling off. And it's really quite interesting because the pores are kind of facing upwards and they're kind of gray. And it's so I have a picture of it, and it's huge down below the thing, inside under the bark. So that's thrown in polypores. I was this was the fungus deformed the bark into this sclerotia or storage body, whatever you want to call it. It takes years to grow. Sometimes it'll regrow itself if the tree is still alive. I see it a lot up here. I've never seen it active on a down tree. Once the tree is down, always on birch or yellow birch, the chaga quits growing, the Inonotus.
I saw one of these on a white birch in Vermont when the nymph was up in Vermont.
The paper birch. Yeah, it's real common up where I am. Yeah. We have a lot more of both kinds of birches.
Yeah, we don't have paper birch down here except ornamental in people's yards.
I have a question. There's a birch in Sherman Hoffman Sanctuary, and it's covered with this black stuff. It looks like chaga, but I've been told that there's a lot of lookalikes. So, and it's got several spots all along the tree. So I've been thinking that it's not chaga, but I can't get close. It's kind of on a slope. Anybody know that, there are supposedly lots of things that look like it that aren't.
Yeah, I heard that there are many cankers happening on trees, but it doesn't mean they are chaga. The main host is birch, but it could happen on other deciduous woods, I read.
Yeah.
So but people in general...
I wish there was, without seeing the fruiting body, how can you really tell?
I think you have to be able. Well, this one here I think is pretty clearly chaga. It really looks Like,
when it's pulled off the tree up here, or anytime I've ever tried to get it off, it's always very gold in the back. In fact, I've actually, the first mushroom I used to dye dye wool was the chaga. And it makes a beautiful gold color, but it's way too much trouble to break up fine enough to dissolve the pigment out.
yeah. You have a
Beautiful
vice grip,
gold.
Susan?
Huh?
You have a vice grip? You
Yellow.
can use a vice grip to break the pieces apart into smaller
Oh,
pieces.
yeah, well, yeah. Well, some of us don't have that as a handy thing in the basement.
Yeah, we just happen to have one in our basement that's been there for 100 years. I don't know.
Well, it's
Down
too
there, and that's what I
difficult to
use it
break up,
for.
but it's the same thing you have to do if you're going to use it for a tea, which is the hot topic up
Yes.
there, is to,
Karen makes tincture out of it, double
right,
extra
right,
tincture.
right. Yeah, a lot of people take that and think it's helping them up here.
Now this is pretty interesting. I'm pretty sure I'm right about this, and I had no idea for quite a while. Now you would think like, well, that's pretty common. Why would you be confused about this? Well, wait till you see it. I'm pretty sure these are the remains of the sterile bases of lycoperdon what's the new genus? There's a new genus for lycoperdon pyriform,
I didn't know,
Angioperdon or
to me,
whatever.
like you've got squirrels or something eating the top.
Well, I think these just, they matured, they gave up their
No,
spores.
no,
No?
this isn't what they look like when they matured and given up their spores. They would be a brown or darker brown color.
Oh,
It's another thing that's very common up here in the fall in all stages. And that isn't what they look like when they're done. Somebody's
right.
eating the tops off of those.
So
They,
Some little
probably
animal.
a squirrel. There's a lot of squirrels along this trail.
Squirrels, chipmunks.
Yeah, squirrels, chipmunks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Dave,
Yes.
one way to know if it is Lycoperdon piriforme is that you dig out a little bit, and under the bark there is a net of white mycelium connecting them.
Yeah,
it usually pulls up.
I got more pictures and I should have added them in. Yes, there's a whole bunch of white mycelium in the substrate, in the rotting wood.
Yes.
And I should have added that picture, and I didn't get around to it. I forgot because I went back last Sunday, I think. Yes, Sunday I went back
I think
to
it's
get
the
more of these. And there's a whole bunch of mycelium connected to the bottoms of these.
Yeah.
White stringy mycelium.
Usually on pretty well rotted wood.
Yeah, this is a beech tree that has been down for many, many, many years. Because I have on this one beech tree that's right on the Falls Trail at Ricketts Glen, I have gathered, I don't know, at least 5 or 6 different species of fungi, probably more than that. Pluteus mushrooms, Ketchmaria duesta, Gallerina, and there's just been all kind of things on this big beech log that's like, like a 3-foot diameter trunk.
I have a picture with hundreds and hundreds of these on the thing, just past their prime for eating.
Okay, so I think, did I I think I proposed a species name for this. So
Of
Malacorius, yeah. So I
No.
think there's a pretty good chance.
No,
No?
definitely not Malacorius. You're closer to semi-sanguineous, if anything.
Well,
Malacorius,
it's not semi-sanguineous because the gills are just never really pink or red. They're more like, they're always like this.
maybe you've got Marylandensis. Arlene Bissett used to find something up in the Rome sand plains, and it died very well as a semi-sanguineous, but she said it wasn't. And this could be another one of those kind of hybrid in between things. But Malacorius is much more yellow, gold, green.
Oh, okay. All right.
Very orange, gold, yellow on the top. And the gills are Well, if you cut it in half, it's kind of almost greenish inside. Yeah, and that's also something that probably grows a lot more further north. It's very common in Scandinavia. Great dye
Wow.
here for deep, deep yellowy, gold, orange colors. But it's not.
Okay. Well, I think this is some sort of dermocybe, though.
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely. It looks close to me. To how
You know, we just found something in the Pine Barrens that looks a lot like that. And from looking at Arlene Bissett's books, I thought it was maybe Crociofolus, Cortnerius crociofolus. And the spore size seemed to match that too. I have it on Mushroom Observer.
Crociofolus. Okay, I'll look at that.
Look at that. But mine was a little darker, and I actually tried a little bit, just, you know, cooked it up and dyed it with some alum warranted yarn. And it gave me kind of a, like, not a mahogany, more like a sienna color. I didn't have enough of it to do much with, but it was definitely different than the semi-sanguineous that we find all over the place.
Yeah.
Dave,
These had
cool.
really small spores, these particular mushrooms.
Yeah, these were smallish. Yep. I don't
was
remember
it
the
a wet
measurements.
day?
Yeah,
last
it
week.
was a damp day. So they're kind of wet, so they might look a little darker.
Yeah, that I find up here because I hunt that actively all September and October. The cap color changes quite a lot with how damp or wet or rainy or whatever it is out, and can look a lot darker. It makes it a lot harder to see them.
So
Yeah.
that's a good
These were under
observation.
pine.
Dave,
Yes.
I just want to say something related to what Sue just said, that I noticed that when the weather is very cold, it intensifies the intensity. Oh, I'm sorry. It intensifies the tone of the mushroom. Like we found several Lacaria species, and they usually are like orange or orange pale. They are almost like orange red because of the cooler nights. So it does something to their chemistry.
Yeah, that's something too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Well,
we,
I'll look up this Crociofolus.
yeah, we
So
found
I
those
have a-
Crociofolus not on a rainy day. It was a coolish day, but and the stem on ours was a little bit darker. Nina and I were together near Speedwell, a little side road before you got to Speedwell.
I don't remember that anybody in this country is actively working on Cortnerius recently, except maybe on the West Coast. There used to be a guy in Washington State. So I think we have some species here that are undescribed.
Oh, yeah.
Thing
Yeah.
is,
I was going to
Europe.
send it to our mycoflora. I have it already put in my little tube ready to go, so I am going to
Does
send that
anybody-
on.
You folks who are much more connected to the mushroom world, is anybody working on Cortnerius that you know of?
Not
There's a
Dermosides.
young lady by the name of Emma Harauer who used to post a fair number of comments pertaining to Cortnerius observations on Mushroom Observer. She's pretty
Yeah,
young.
but-
I guess she's in her 20s.
It's
I'm
the
not
classic,
sure if she's a student or just someone who was interested.
the classic problem though is that we're applying European names to our mushrooms, so they.
I got the name from a European source. I downloaded.
Yeah, well, just saying.
John Plischke has all those Cortnerius books on. He put them on a zip drive for me, and so I have.
But has he ever collected in Europe?
Well, no, but I know they're European.
Well, I'm just
names.
saying
I
that
know. Mhm.
some of these things don't look the same.
Liz,
Yes.
Yes, Marisol.
is there a Cortinarius called Croceus too? Because
There is,
Yes.
there is, but that's not
Crocius,
Croceus.
Crociofolus.
That one's got
Yeah.
greenish gills.
Yeah, we find that all the
I
time.
find it here, at least what I
Yeah.
call it. I find
But
a
I
few
see it
different
all.
things that look like
Now,
it.
see, I think of yellow for all of those.
Well,
More-
yellow or greenish, the gills.
Yeah, it's much paler.
Hello?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So, Sue,
Can I
I
talk?
was going to say,
Good.
Sue, to answer your question, you were asking about people working on Cortnerius. Somebody did just put out a really, really big paper on the Telemonia section.
Okay.
That,
Oh,
that was like a worldwide study. So there wasn't a lot of US stuff in there, but there was some US stuff in there.
that reminds me, Luke, that if you send me your snail mail address, your physical post office address, I will send you a copy of Meinhard Moser's Agaricus and Bolete from about 25, 30 years ago. I don't,
Okay.
so you might, it spells out a lot of that stuff. Even though it's European, it might help you sort out some of that stuff.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
So, I think there's another Cortinarius right after this one that I think is also probably a Dermocybe.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Crocioconeus, right. So this is another European name, but at least, I mean, this acute umbo on the cap is pretty, most of them have it. The color seems in the ballpark, the spore size in the ballpark with this Crocioconeus thing. The gill color in the descriptions I found, the gill color varies quite a bit. Sometimes it's, you know, more bright yellow or these are a little bit muted, but
It will,
I mean,
as it matures, the
seems to
spores
fit.
too.
What's that?
It will change, the gill color will change as the spores mature also.
Oh yeah, well yeah, when they really mature, you don't get much color on the gills. They just get kind of dark then.
Well, the semi-sanguineous is bright, bright red,
Yeah, they stay like that. You're right.
and the sanguineous, which I don't find here, but I'm sure it is.
Yeah, they stay red. So these spores, you can't see it here because this particular microscope doesn't resolve details quite well enough, but these did have really, really, really small warts on them. So it wasn't just varicose, there were warts on these, really, really, really small. And the spore size is up to, maybe just a little under 10 microns, so they're not real small. Everything fit fairly well with this Crocioconeus. So this one even though I posted only at could be confidence, because for one, as you're saying, some of you are saying, these are European names that might not even truly apply. But I was a little more confident about calling this thing Crocioconeus than calling that other thing, what was it, Malacarius?
No, it's not
Yeah,
Malacarius.
I'll
Dave,
do a little more work on that one. Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
I wanted to say that I found Cortinarius in the Pine Barrens, and Liz told me that if you put KOH on, it turns purple. So it seems to be Croceus. I can show it next week, and it turned purple.
Yeah, some of them go purple and some of them go like almost black or dark red. I think most of the Dermocybes do that sort of thing. Maybe the Telemonia also, I'm not sure. And by the way, these distinctions are not being borne out by molecular studies. The whole genus is going to have to be reworked probably.
Well, that's why I'm asking if somebody's working on it. The interesting thing about the European names is when you see it here on your observation thing, the FR afterwards means freeze.
Rise, yeah, freeze, okay.
In Sweden, Person, I think, was in France or Germany. You know, so those are names that originated where those people live.
Right.
So interesting thing to keep in mind when you're looking at the scientific names.
Yeah, I saved a collection of these. I saved a collection of those other ones too. So, you know, just in case if anybody's ever interested, I'll have some things to offer.
Yeah.
I'm not doing mycoflora right now, or what's it called? Fundis now, I guess, because I'm just too busy. I'm waiting. I retire at the end of this next semester. I'll have more time. I'm going to apply for another grant for our club. But I am saving things. I'm dehydrating things. Save. Oh, Mycena. When do you not find a Mycena? So this one's pretty cool,
dry.
though. I thought they just looked. Yeah, even when it's really dry, you find some on wood sometimes. But I don't know. If anybody has a clue about, I honestly. I bring home all these mushrooms, and some of them I'll work on, and then I get tired. And you know, the poor little Mycenas, they just
little brown mushrooms.
Yeah, they just get left for the last, you know. And I honestly don't try really hard with a lot of the Mycenas, but these at least look pretty distinctive. In some ways, I guess, you know, for a Mycena, they're not on wood, they're in the moss. They were pretty good pictures I got, so I thought I'd throw this one in.
Dave,
Yes.
If you ever find the super tiny mycenas, the mycenas, don't ignore them. The micro is really, really gorgeous. Not the regular ones, the bigger ones, I mean, they're cool, but the little tiny ones, they're the best.
Oh.
Do some micro.
What's that one? Corticola? Is that what the one really small pink
There
one?
are so many.
Yeah.
The ones that grow on oak leaves, they're so delicate.
Yeah.
Oh, they're beautiful.
Yeah, I know. Mycena. One of these days, I actually tried to name a few Cortinarius, which is that's my next project. Maybe try to figure out at least some of that stuff. Yeah, good luck. Well, then I'll need more good luck for these mycenas eventually, But this is pretty cool here. I find these in the fall. I find them in my yard actually, but these were found in woods, in moss, under pine, and they have amylate spores, so that eliminates Cystodomella, which looks like Cystoderma, but has non-reactive spores. And the little radial wrinkles on the cap is something you'll see with this. How do you say it? Ammonianthium? I guess that's how you say it. I'm not sure. And the veil forms. Sometimes it sheathes the stalk, but these probably were there for a little while. So a lot of the veil has become grainy and much of it has fallen off. But if you look in guides and so forth and online sources and such, that you'll see a lot of pictures of this species that look just like this. And actually, Cystoderma spores are not the most exciting thing in the world. They all pretty much look the same. But it's a cool looking little mushroom. I usually find it in fall. I usually don't find it until October. And some years I'll find these little Cystoderma mushrooms right up until December, maybe even into December. So there's this, yes.
Do you live in next to pine trees and oaks?
Yeah, these were under pine. I think it's Scots pine. I think.
Your house is in that area, in a conifer area?
No, well, about 2 miles from my house, there's this piece of property that in between a farm and a baseball field, and it's a stand of pine. It was planted. They're all the same size.
Okay.
They were probably planted, 80 years ago or whatever, 100 years ago. They're all pretty much the same size. There aren't too many other things mixed in. So it's almost a pure stand of these pines. I think they're Scots pines. And that's, I go there. It's only 2 miles from my house, so I'll just go there once a week, if not more. And nothing comes out under the. Well, in the spring, sometimes you get an Amanita from Section Amanita. If it's not Praecox, it's something pretty close. That'll come out in the spring, and then all through the summer, there's like nothing. Maybe a Mycena here and there under these pines, and you don't really find anything until the end of October, and then the mushrooms start coming out in this stand of pines, which is nice because there's not many other places to look for mushrooms right now. So I just go there and find all these like Cortinarius and Mycena and the Cystoderma, and then sometimes a few other things too. Okay, so I guess Luke, take it away.
All right, thanks, Dave.
You're welcome.
Okay, so this one I was interested in. I caught a Postia tephraluca. It was down on the Pine Barrens this last weekend. And it was just a single polypore all by itself on a piece of hardwood. It was down in a cedar bog, but there was like a fallen down, some kind of hardwood there. And this one single thing was about 2 to 3 inches wide. And look at the underside, white pores, kind of angular, like 4 to 5, or like 3 to 4 pores per millimeter on there. But it was soft, so it was kind of like one of those like Postia or Tyramyces type things. you know, kind of firm but brittle, like I could crumble it up. So I got it home, I got spores off of it, and they were really tiny. These things were about 1 micron wide. These little things in here, about 1 micron wide, and about 4 to 5 long. So a little bit allantoid. Now I didn't notice when I ripped it off of the log whether it was a brown or a white rotter. I actually couldn't really tell. Postas would be brown rot, whereas if this was like a Taxonomys chinensis, it would have been a white rot, and they're really hard to tell apart. But the chinensis, their spores are like 2 to 3 microns wide, where these, this one here, the Tephraluca, are really, really narrow. So I called it that. And I do remember being down in the Pine Barrens a couple of years ago with Tom Bigelow, and he used this name for some of these white things that we found down there. So that kind of encouraged me to go with this name. So that's that one. Anybody else ever see this one around?
I read in a book that this Tephraluca is like darker than other postias. And you like rub it and it becomes grayish.
Hmm. Okay, you know
So
what?
the next, yeah.
I forgot. I guess I didn't put a picture. Oh yeah, I did. This was the other thing that pushed me away from the Taxonomys. I put KOH on it, and it turned it blue. Like this is where I cut it with a knife, and it didn't really stain when I cut it with a knife. But then when I dropped KOH on it, it turned it this like greenish bluish color. And mushroom expert says that the chinensis does not react in KOH. The post-Joe, there's not much information about them, but it was definitely a very definitive KOH reaction going on there. The cap surface too.
Cool. And look, I meant on the cap.
Yes, I know. I understood what you meant. Yeah, this is, you know, these white things are hard to photograph. That's fairly representative of what it looked like, kind of grayish. It was white with like a grayish tone to it.
Yeah.
All right. So what else did I see? I managed to get down to the Pine Barrens for the last 2 weeks in a row, which is nice. I actually ran into Igor. I was down at Paxum Pond, and I was back there hiking, and I look up on the trail, and here comes Igor walking down the trail ever so slow with his hands in his pocket.
Packham Pond.
Right at Packham Pond.
Yeah.
I don't know why these psilocybes are up here. This is from last year. Somebody must have been eyeballing them or something. What else did we find down there? These things, I really like these Cantharellula umbanatas, and these were big for these guys. Usually they're really small whenever I see them. Some of these were like 2.5, maybe close to 3 inches wide. They were getting pretty darn big.
I love the umbo.
Yeah. I actually found enough of these. I brought a little pile of them home. I saw them in my fridge.
Did you eat them?
Yeah, they're really good.
They told us, yeah?
Yeah, I might get a couple of mouthfuls out of them.
Yeah, I eat these too. There's a spot out in the Poconos where when I make it out that far, sometimes I can pick like 100. And then it's actually enough for a side dish. They are really small.
I see them where I am, but I don't bother with them because I'm usually busy looking for something else. But I do see them every year here.
I don't know if there's much else in here, and haven't put too many of them on here. I found this polypore growing on one of those oaks. I always call them scrub oaks. There's like small, scrubby looking oaks that grow down in the Pine Barrens. I'm not really sure what the oak actually is. But this Phalinus looking critter was growing on one of them. I did bring a piece of it home, but I haven't scoped it yet. There's definitely something in that kind of Phalinus area though. Hard. I don't think I didn't even photograph the inside of it, but the inside of it, the tubes on it are really long and kind of stuffed. Had this golden glancing look to it.
How big is this, Luke?
This was probably 4 to 5 inches wide. It was pretty good size.
Did you happen to put KOH on the cap or any part of it?
Not yet. I have it sitting right here.
Looks like a large Hapalopilus.
Which makes me think Hapalopilus croceus, if I remember.
Oh, that's an interesting thing.
Old, because it's usually oranger, but that, you know, it could have been there for a while. But
Yeah, I just put KOH on it just now, and it's black, straight to black.
your finger's in the way.
Oh, I'm not showing it. I wasn't showing it. I was just looking at it.
Oh,
It just went straight to black on the cap surface.
okay, because if it was the Croceus, it should go like a cherry red or a purple color.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't think it's that. I think it's definitely something in the Phalinus. When you look at the tubes on it, they're golden colored and like stuffed white. And actually several layers, so some perennial aspect to it.
Yeah, that's really weird.
Yeah. It's one of those Phalinus things that I can never really tell them apart without using the microscope. And then even with the microscope, they're really kind of hard.
Yeah, you'd have to look for seedy.
Yes. Yep. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing. I know Sue had some stuff she wanted to share. Are you there, Sue?
Yes. I forgot how to do it again. All right, I had found this last month and I didn't know what it was and somebody identified it for me on Mushroom Observer. Slow. But when I saw it again today, I still didn't immediately figure out what it was. So this is Hohenia, Bulihelia.
Hohenbuehelia.
Hohenbuehelia mastricata.
Yes, however you say that.
It's a tricky name.
Yeah, and I don't know, other than those spiky things on the top, what really identified it, because I don't know any of the shelving things that did the spiking.
Yeah.
But it was
How do we
basically
get how do we get the picture in the middle?
picture in the middle.
Oh,
Well, this is where I found it, and the ones I showed you just before are the ones on the right. They were more sheltered, so their spikes were maintained a little better from last night's storm.
So
Yes.
the next time you find it, make a cut and you'll see a gelatinous layer.
Well, I've done that last month too, when I read up about what it was. And I still looked at it and I cut it and I still not quite sure what a gelatinous layer looks like when I cut.
It looks like a line of, like a jelly line
jelly.
in the center, in the context.
Yeah, I understand where it's supposed to be, but
Oh, okay.
I'm still looking for that black line for Trimides versus.
Oh.
So my eyes aren't as that good, but that was an interesting one. And, you know, I thought that was an easy to identify if you see a spiky thing with shelves. Next one is talking about your chaga.
Am I the only one that can't see the full screen on these pictures? All right, now it is.
Okay, yeah. So I was walking and I saw this blob up on a tree limb, and it was only about 15 feet high. So I thought I would try to go grab it. Leave me alone. And I was able to pull it down with another branch. And this is what I think it is. And it seemed to match other pictures, but I don't know. This black stuff, which is hard, was completely around the branch. And then
Cherry?
It looks like a cherry tree. I have a whole picture of the cherry tree, but I really, because I assume this is a stone. This is the Apio something, as forms on stone.
Apiosperina morbosa. Yeah, black knot of plum or cherry.
Yep,
Yes.
that's right.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like that.
Pathogen.
Apiosporina it looks like it deforms the branch and it looks like black with pimples, almost like an old dog poop.
Well, if it wasn't for this rain, that perhaps I didn't know whether something was growing on this black or not. But this is what mine looks like. You got another suggestion if you don't think it's this one?
I mean, to me it doesn't look, but it may be.
Yeah,
I see some jelly. I see some jelly there on the top.
Yes, and I didn't know where that was. It looks like jelly to me too, and I didn't know whether a fungus could be growing on this fungus.
It
But
was
it looks-
a tiny branch because usually it's on the smaller branches.
It is on a small branch.
Ah, okay.
It's only about maybe an inch and a half
Yeah, it could
large,
be. Yeah.
the branch. So
No, I think
it's
that
one
looks
of the
right.
ones that they say you only see in the winter because there's no trees, no leaves, and you can go see it up high.
It starts out on the small branches, but it definitely migrates into the trunks of the trees too.
Right, I
If you read-
agree.
If you read the life cycle of it.
This is another one.
There's a good article in one of the fungi magazine about it.
I think you have the right ID, Sue. I
Okay.
would agree with that.
Okay. 'Cause they did say it could exude things, so I'm assuming that that's what the jelly-like thing is, but couldn't be sure. Okay. But that's another one that said gets confused with chaga because it is this black hard stuff. This is another one I didn't know until somebody told me what it was, because it looks to me like the slime mold, the Flaviopsis septica, but it's hard. And it's been identified to me as this trichoderma sulfurium.
It's nice to get a very good close-up
I got a close-up.
of it because you can see the little pimples on it.
And another thing, it parasitizes a black jelly.
Yes, and I didn't know that because the Excidia was all over almost all the logs last week. So I didn't pay much attention to it anymore. So it could very well have been there, but they also claim that you can find this where you can't see any visible Excidia.
Ah, all right.
I'm assuming that since the Excidia was out, that this is also the same. So that was another interesting one to me because I hadn't seen that one before. And this is one I don't know what it is. It's been damaged. This is on a log. And like the whole top part has been broken apart and gone. But you can see some of these new endpoints look like little caps. And they seem to be intact.
What about the underneath? Oh,
Underneath is, I pulled the whole structure off of the log. And you still see pieces of the bark, but that's what the underneath looks like.
it's
Nothing.
posture with hypomyces.
Okay. And let me show the
Some animal was chewing on it.
well, I don't know if it was animal or human. Because I still have no idea. There's plenty of people in that woods that collect mushrooms. So this is with an intact cap, the bottom part of it. So you can see the pores. So any ideas what this could have been?
It's a hypomyced postia.
This whole thing with all these different caps is a postia?
It's postia and it has a hypomyces growing on it.
But-
the yellow. It turns a yellow.
But postia is usually a shelf, right? This is not a shelf. This is a structure that comes up and then has like arms.
Although that's the shelf part of it.
So it's shelved and then it broke up into pieces and continued on?
You said it was damaged though, so maybe it kept growing after somebody bit off most of it.
Right.
Bit off of it.
And
Well,
try
It's
postia.
really on the top of the
styptica.
log. It's really coming off the top of the log. It's not on the side of the log.
Yeah, but
That's okay.
looks
Okay, so it's still
appetizing for a
postia.
deer.
Okay.
So try postia styptica, and then there is a hypomyces that attacks it and is yellow.
Oh, I understand. No, the bottom part of the yellow part, I don't even care about. I was more concerned about what the main body
Oh.
was.
Oh, postia
Yeah.
styptica.
The fungus on the bottom, I wasn't particularly interested in because that's just fungus. It was just the top. Okay, that's that one, and I think that's all I wanted to show.
All right, thanks, Sue. All right, we got about 5 minutes left. Do you want to go back, Marisol? Should you?
No, I'm ready to quit.
You're done?
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. Anybody else have anything they want to get out there before we close up shop tonight? All right. Well, thank you everyone for coming. Don't forget this Friday night, Kathy Cripps
Mhm.
on cold fungi.
Can you send me the links, please?
Yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it right now, Marisol.
Thanks. Thanks.
Okay. Well, then I will see you guys Friday. If not Friday, I'll see you next Tuesday. All right.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
weekend,
Thank
Thank you,
everyone.
everybody.
Thank
Bye.
In the
you.
morning, Sue.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.